It's the final days of summer here in Haslett, Michigan. Choir camp has been in full swing as usual, and on the last day of camp, that year's musical is announced.
Like I said earlier, we start thinking and talking about musicals when students are in middle school. And definitely the summer before a school year is when I spend a lot of time. I order different scripts and musical scores, and I kind of study those things.
We start discussions in that as soon as we know what show we're doing. At latest, we will start immediately after the show is cast.
When they announce the musical, I usually go through and listen to all the songs and kind of figure out what part I'm trying to go for.
So the audition process, there are two stages. There's the first stage where everyone that's interested in going into the musical at all comes to Mr. Boyce in the choir room. We'll go over all of the music that he wants us to audition with, which would normally be a page worth of sheet music from any song that they pick from the musical.
The initial auditions, Mrs. Val and I sit in the room and we take notes and score students based on a little rubric.
It's a long process, and we find out casting the week after, so it's just the waiting is so rigorous, and it's nerve-wracking.
Casting is always a challenge, and like I said earlier, this is the most difficult part of my job and the process. But I like to think that we do the best we can to be as objective as we can. There are other students who could do just as well in those roles, but some people just fit the part a little bit better.
Once the cast list is up, everyone is eager and excited to start practicing, which often starts the very next day. Practices are done scene by scene, then pieced together on the weekends to make the learning process easier for the students. While this is happening, Mr. Hepfer and his crew are working hard to create the director's vision.
At the beginning of the process, I will meet with the director, Mr. Voice, Mrs. Vala, whoever's directing the show or event that's in here, and talk to them about their overall vision, what they need, what they want, and start to form a design for what that looks like. We may go back and forth with the director a couple times with even just drawings on a whiteboard. Here's what we're thinking, here's what we want to create, and then refine that to something that so we both have a clear understanding and vision of what they want. We're training them with lighting, with sound, with carpentry. We have to get them up to speed. A bit different than the performers. The performers come in, they already know how to sing. They already know how to act. Our students won't necessarily know how to do the jobs we're going to ask them to do.
We're always watching students and how they grow as performers, how they grow as actors, as singers.
It's drawing that all together and adding those elements in. It's one big package. We don't have, if you're working with sound for the show, you better believe you helped build that. That's where we start. We don't start sound for a process until much later. We want our students to be well-rounded and not just, I build the show and then I'm done. I build the show and then I'm working on it. Whether that's lighting, sound, props, any of those different elements that need to be there, that need to come together. And that they don't just do one thing, they're cross-trained in many.
I think once you're in costume, it's a lot easier to get into the character.
Mrs. Brooks does a really great job coming up with our costumes, building it with us, and the costumes, I'm always extremely impressed. Once we get those costumes on, it really brings our characters out and we can feel more comfortable acting like a character because we're wearing their clothes instead of sweatpants.
In setting up sound for the production, our students work with microphones, but not just for the performers in the pit, for microphones for TV. All of those things have to be in place, so the end result to the audience is seamless. When they listen, they're hearing all the instruments in the pit that are balanced out and balanced with the microphones on stage to recreate all of that audio for the audience. We can't mic everybody, but we can mic a lot of students. It's not uncommon for us to mic 20, 22, 24 students at a time. We actually have set pieces that are in rotation now that have been in rotation since 1999. So we will reuse, rebuild, modify. Not to say that we don't buy new material, we certainly do, but we try to be very responsible about what we're doing, what we're spending, and why. When we work on lighting for a show, our students will go through and perform not only routine maintenance, but set up a specific lighting plot for the show. That's focus, that's placement, that's color, any patterns that have to go into it. Our students will work in the catwalks. We want to make sure that everything they touch, everything they install is done correctly.
I'm extremely proud to be here. I'm overjoyed.
It makes me really proud, and I feel really lucky to be a part of Haslett.
I couldn't imagine not doing musical because it's just such a big part of my life and my family and most of my friends.
My favorite part was probably waltzing with a beautiful broom across the stage.
Going through productions at Haslett, I think it's just like the best experience that I could ever have.
I had so many family members that came because it was Haslett and because they knew that it was going to be, it was a big show.
So many high schools have such not as good musical programs, and so the fact that we can do like super cool shows with so few people, I think is really cool.
Performing with all of these incredibly talented actors and singers, it's a lot of fun.
And they watched it and they said, "I've been to Broadway, man. That was right up there."
We have our traditions, and it's so fun to just keep them and carry them and pass them over to the next generation of people who are coming.
I feel like pretty special to be able to be a part of such a special program. I feel a little privileged because we're so good at this type of stuff, but it's kind of legendary.